on today's video, I am going to cover 8 reasons that you are still overeating despite not restricting your calorie intake anymore. We support so many clients with this. It is a super frustrating place to be, knowing that you are eating balanced meals, you are nourishing your body, yet overeating is still preventing you from getting to where you want to be with your health and fitness goals. Before we get into it, I want to share with you guys a free online quiz that we have available for anybody to fill in. It's called Understanding Your Eating Habits. So if it is overeating that you struggle with, if it is restriction, if it's binge eating, if it's the fact that you can't get into a regular eating routine, fill in the quiz. I'm going to share the link in the description and you will get some personalised feedback from us on exactly what you need to focus on moving forward to support yourself with nutrition. So reason number 1 that you are still overeating despite not restricting is because you have restricted for a really long time in the past, or you've been trapped in a yo-yo dieting cycle for a really long time. Just because you are now nourishing your body better, you are now eating regularly, it can take a long time for your body to build up that trust and for hunger hormones, appetite regulation to all settle back down to where we want them to be. So as people have worked through restriction, it is completely normal that for a period of time after, overeating is still there, because your body has been so used to having calories cut right back and being starving that those hunger signals to overconsume are likely to come for a period of time. So with this situation, it is a case of sticking it out, because so many people who start eating regularly and work through over restriction continue to overeat, and then they start pulling back the calories that they're eating either earlier in the day or at periods of time when maybe they're busier, so they're not as hungry. That is the worst thing you can do, because then you are going to remain trapped in that binge restrict cycle. So with this, it is continuing to eat regularly, continuing to nourish your body, looking at some emotional regulation techniques and ways that you can support yourself during the times you are most likely to overeat, and knowing that as you keep building up that trust, as your hunger hormones settle down, as your satiety levels start to increase again, your body will learn that food is not going to be restricted, you aren't going to be starving yourself again, and the overeating will settle. Reason number 2 is that maybe you aren't physically restricting, so you're eating balanced meals, you are technically getting enough food in, but mentally and emotionally you are restricting. These are still forms of restriction that your body sees as a threat. So even if you are eating enough, but you are struggling with food guilt, food rules, black and white thinking around food, you're saving specific foods for certain times of the day or certain times of the week, you are telling yourself, oh, because I'm nourishing myself, I need to exercise more, I need to earn my food. These are all mental and emotional forms of restriction that then continues to drive those overeating behaviours. So just because on paper and at surface level technically you are eating enough, if mentally and emotionally you are struggling with your relationship with food, you're feeling guilty, you have lots of loud food noise, that is going to drive overeating because your body is still feeling deprived. So with this, it's really important that you work on your relationship with food. You move away from black and white thinking around food. You work on food neutrality. You focus on the concepts of full permission to eat. You look at food as more than fuel. Food is something that should add to our lives. It's about connection and social occasions. Yes, it is about fuel and physical health, but food is so much more than that. And if you struggle with food mentally and emotionally, that is likely to drive overeating behaviours, even if on the face of it you are technically eating enough. The third reason that you are still overeating despite not restricting could be that you are neurodivergent. Lots of our clients who are neurodivergent receive a heightened dopamine response to food, which basically means food feels really, really good. It gets us excited, we look forward to the food, and for neurodivergent people, that can leave us in a really heightened state. And of course, with very highly palatable foods or delicious foods, that can then result in overeating. Now, receiving a heightened dopamine response to food is brilliant if you have a healthy relationship with food, if you know what moderation looks like for you, and also if you are able to find dopamine in other places. So this is one tool that we use with our neurodivergent clients who find that they are overeating due to dopamine seeking behaviours. We get them to come up with a list of other places that they can get some dopamine from. One of my clients came up with the term dopa menu, which I absolutely love. So just having a little list of other things in your life that give you those great feelings that bring you dopamine. Now we have to have some acceptance the other things that give us dopamine. So for me, it's time outside, it's getting stuck into a great series on Netflix, it's reading a book, it's spending time with the dogs. None of those things are as readily accessible as highly palatable, delicious foods. We have to have the acceptance. We're not trying to replace the dopamine, that we get from food, but we are trying to support ourselves and find dopamine in places that aren't just food. So if you are neurodivergent and you struggle with overeating, then finding dopamine in other places, writing out a little dopamine list so you've got those reminders will be helpful. Reason number 4 that you are still overeating despite not restricting could be if you have certain genes that increase the risk of struggling with very, very high levels of hunger, and then of course overeating being more of an issue. And we now have over 420 genes in studies and in the research that can increase these risks for people. Probably the most commonly studied one is called the FTO gene. Now, if somebody has 2 variants of the FTO gene, which would be one from each parent, that increases the risk of them struggling with overeating that results in obesity by up to 70%. And this is why it does my tits in when there are people in the fitness industry or just society in general that shout, eat less, move more. It's all about a calorie deficit, it's discipline and willpower. Of course, the calorie deficit still applies if somebody wants to lose body fat. I am not disputing that. But for some people, this is so much harder than what it is like for the average person. Now, unfortunately, genetic testing on an individual basis is very, very limited. And there are some drugs and medications that you might want to speak to your GP about if you feel like you do fall into this category that could help. But actually, I just think more understanding and awareness of how losing body fat, maintaining a healthy body weight, reducing overeating for some people is so much harder than it is for others, because then you can support your relationship with food and your approach to nutrition from a place of support, structure, compassion and understanding instead of shame or judgment. Reason number 5 that you are still overeating despite not restricting is because you are surviving with chronic stress. You are running around like a headless chicken in fight or flight mode from the first second you open your eyes and wake up in the morning until you collapse on the sofa on an evening. If you are struggling with very, very high stress levels and you aren't supporting yourself with stress management, it is so difficult to make conscious, intentional and nutritious food choices. You are so much more likely to eat impulsively, grab at food on the go and be looking for extra highly palatable, high sugar, high calorie snacks for energy. Because when you are surviving in that fight or flight mode, your brain is constantly looking for fuel to survive the stressful situations. And this is something that we see in our clients all of the time. They are racing around all day, every day, looking after everybody else but themselves. And that is having a huge knock-on impact on their food choices and on how often they overeat. So if you recognize this in yourself, building in some emotional regulation strategies and some stress management tools and techniques that fit into your day-to-day life. Obviously, if you're stressed, I don't want any of you guys listening to wellness wankers on the internet that tell you to manage stress. You've got to get in an ice bath for half an hour at 5 a.m. and meditate for 7 minutes. before every meal, that's not realistic for most of you, but we can build little things into our day-to-day routines that will be supportive of stress levels. We can build in intentional pauses before we eat. We've got loads of resources on this actually that we do help our clients with. So if any of you would like some stress management techniques and realistic, applicable emotional regulation techniques that work with your life instead of consuming it, pop me a message and I will send some resources over. Reason number 6 that you are still overeating despite not restricting calories could be if you are struggling with any physical or mental health conditions. Maybe food has been there for you during really tough times in your life. Maybe you are chronically unwell or struggling with chronic pain. So actually being able to move your body and get endorphins from that and go out and see friends and family, maybe that's limited due to physical or mental health. So food is there for you. Food has been a source of comfort and it's super accessible. And that is likely for people who fit this criteria to result in overeating. If this is you and if you can relate, I want you to really try and flip this on its head and be thankful that food has been there for you through a really difficult time in your life, through really tough and challenging health conditions, that those of us who are able-bodied just don't have any understanding what it can be like to deal with. Again, that compassion and understanding is super important, but trying to look for other ways to support yourself, similar to the stress management, similar to the emotional regulation side of things, but knowing that if you do struggle with physical or mental health, it's completely understandable that food has been there for you and there is nothing wrong with turning to food at times to support yourself, for comfort, for a little bit of self-soothing, but we want other things in your routine and in your emotional regulation toolkit to help with how you feel. Reason number 7 that you are struggling with overeating despite not restricting calories is your food environment. This is one of the first things that we cover with new clients when we start working with them. And if we think about your kitchen, how it's set up, your eating environment, do you have trays and drawers of chocolate, sweets and snacks that you are going into numerous times a day? A client I just started working with the other week, her chocolate cupboard was the same cupboard where she kept her mugs to make her morning coffee, and then she would have other warm drinks throughout the day. So she was going into this cupboard 4, 5, 6 times a day, and the chocolate was just there right in front of her. Another client I spoke to last week had a biscuit jar on the side in the kitchen, a see-through one with the biscuits just sat there. And then another client had a big tray on the kitchen side full of crisps. If you have these foods in eyesight, you are so much more likely to overeat them. The research shows us even people who have the most discipline, because so much about this isn't to do with discipline, but even people who are qualified nutritionists, dietitians, they know what they're putting in their bodies, or athletes who eat in a very set way, even if those sorts of people had these foods laid out in front of them in their eyesight, they are probably going to end up overeating them. So this is all about setting your food environment up to win. It is not about banning yourself from these foods or saying, oh, I can't have biscuits in the house, I'm not allowed chocolate. But if we take the biscuit jar and we just pop it away in a cupboard, if we move the chocolate tray from the cupboard that you are going into numerous times a day for other things, that is going to help so much, because it's not in your eyesight 24/7. It's not about not allowing yourself to have these foods or saying you can't keep them in the house because you can't trust yourself, but it's removing them out of your eyesight numerous times a day. So when you decide to have them, it's conscious, it's intentional. It's not just being impulsive. It's not just mindless because they're there, because they are in front of you. Reason number 8 that you are still overeating despite not restricting calories is because you aren't sleeping properly. Now, we hear so many people talking about why sleep is so important on a health and fitness journey. And one of the main reasons for this is because of how it helps to regulate your hunger and satiety hormones. We've got 2 main hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone that signals to your brain when you're hungry, and leptin is the hunger hormone that signals to your brain when you are full and satisfied after eating a meal. I remember ghrelin as like a little gremlin on your shoulder, so a little gremlin telling your brain that you're hungry. Even after just one poor night's sleep, your ghrelin levels are heightened. Your body is so clever. This is one of the wonderful things about our bodies. They are just geared for survival, but it can really bite us when it comes to overeating and our food environment. But if you've had just one poor night's sleep, your ghrelin levels are heightened because your body didn't recoup energy in the night. It didn't get a chance to recover properly. So your brain is looking for higher calorie snacks, sugar, foods that are going to give you quick bursts of energy that you didn't recoup during the night because you didn't sleep properly. So ghrelin is higher, leptin is lower after just one poor night's sleep, which means a meal that would normally satisfy you can feel like it just doesn't touch the sides because again your body is searching for that energy that it didn't get to recoup during the night. Understanding this and knowing why sleep is so important. Obviously there's so many other reasons that we want to sleep as well, but if you struggle with overeating, then focusing on your sleep routine, sleep schedule, sleep quality, coming off phones, laptops, tablets an hour before bed to reduce blue light exposure. TV is absolutely fine, but to reduce blue light exposure is really, really important, and having healthy sleep routines, a wind down routine on your evening so that you can actually switch your brain off and get some proper quality sleep. Not only is it going to help to improve your health overall, but it'll have a huge positive impact on reducing those urges to overeat. Of course, reasons that people struggle with overeating are completely unique and individual. These are just 8 reasons that we often support clients with that you guys probably haven't thought of before, because again, the fitness industry often reduces overeating to it being about discipline and willpower, and the majority of the time there's more going on than that. It is so much more complex, and I truly believe that if we can get to the root cause of why somebody is struggling with overeating, if we can get curious about it instead of just judging, bullying and shaming ourselves, then that is when we can put things in place to support ourselves and reduce overeating. Hopefully this video has been helpful and you've took some hints and tips away from it. If you do have any questions or want to reach out, please pop me a message anytime. Make sure you go to the description and fill in our online quiz to understand your eating habits a little bit more, and I will see you all back in the next video.